Okay, for people who are joining this live stream, it is our first live stream of 2019, and this is a meeting about language completeness and consistency for Wolfram Language. These are all things that will be after version 12.0, but they are things that have come up, and we're going to talk about them. All right, image effect plus random seeding. What on earth is this?
This is a continuation from last time. So if you open up the little subsection there, right, we looked at the various functions that take random seeding, and the overwhelming majority take 1, 2, 3, 4. Block random, for very obvious reasons,
takes inherited. Yeah.
So does nettrain, and we decided to change classify and predict to match nettrain. I don't remember exactly what the reasoning was for nettrain and its friends, but that's sort of a coherent cluster.
Okay. All right. So word cloud and image effect are the two cases. Well, actually, sequence predictor function, I used it for generating random elements.
Right. So there's a property called the next random element, or
yeah. I mean, the sequence predictor function is probably misnamed. Is anybody from machine learning here?
No, I don't think so.
By the way, that was a really slow, this is 12.0. That was a really slow startup. If somebody could again report this, that the first time okay.
Right. So random next element. So sequence predictor. So this random seeding is only used for one property, which is random next element.
I don't have an opinion about this, whether it should be repeatable or not. Probably not repeatable, would be my guess.
Right, because there's next element, which is the most likely one, and then random next element is, randomly sample from the probabilities of the next possible element.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it probably, so automatic means what? It means it's reseeded every time, or it means it's...
Correct.
So it's locally reseeded, but it whatever it is seeded as does not survive the end of sequence predictor function, correct?
Correct.
Okay, it's block random, basically.
Right, so we could change this in the future to none if we don't want it to even block, but...
No, it should block, I think.
Well, why is this property different from, random variate or random sample?
I think this is misnamed, and I think sequence predictor function will probably get revised, probably my guess. But that's not for this meeting because we don't have the right people here. Okay, let's come to, I assume we have Shadi. Do we have Shadi here?
Yes,
I'm here.
Okay. So word cloud and image effect. I have to say, I think that word cloud should be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. That I don't have an objection with. That's only as well for random orientations of the words that we need random seeding. Image effect.
Wait. Are you saying that for word cloud in general is deterministic?
Yes.
Okay, so let's understand what you mean by random. Okay, so then you're asking.
Because you see my comment there that word cloud claims to be automatic, although we haven't generated an example where it actually has an effect. So
if you look at the rev page, or if you generate one, we have word orientation option, and that option can take the string random as the setting, where the orientation of the words are randomly selected.
Gosh, this needs to be, all of these entity value things need to be updated, by the way. Is that Kansushma? All of the things that work this way should presumably be updated to use entities. Okay, so now this case is...
which entities, just out of curiosity?
Well, I assume that this one here would be, that country data open close would be, that would turn into, I would assume... Countries.
Yep.
And I would assume, let's just try it. I would assume that the word cloud that we would get would be the same. If not, then we're embarrassed. Well, so far as I can tell, oh, yeah, it looks the same. And notice it's deterministic. Okay, so let's look here at word orientation, right?
Yes.
Arrow. Is there a one called? Why doesn't that autocomplete? That, by the way, that was an autocomplete failure. Did you see that? The word orientation.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, so let's go like this, and come on, wake up. Okay, there it is. Okay, so now the claim is if we do this again, we will get a different pattern.
Correct.
Well, I have to say, I'm not totally opposed to this being automatic and being different each time, given that you asked for random. What's that?
Yes. I wanted, well, I was amused by your response, but also I was thinking, I wonder if then random seeding should really be a top-level option and not an option to a sub-option to word orientation.
How can it be a sub-option? You mean random, or that?
Right, that it looks like a method option, so it's list random, comma.
Yeah, random seeding arrow, whatever. It's not stupid. That wouldn't be stupid. I mean, this is not an experimental function, so that would be it's a compatible change actually. So. Okay, well, so look, in the documentation here, at the very least, let's change that documentation to say, and I think that will help quarterize this at least. If we change that document here, let me just do it. I'm just updating. I don't know when I last did this actually. I just want to change it to say, specify the random seed for random word orientations.
That's fair. I agree.
Okay, so in the case of image effect, it's like the salt and pepper randomness or whatever.
All the noises, yes.
Again, it might need a documentation change, but I think that's here. I'm sorry, this is just taking a moment to update here. There we go. Okay, then let's go ahead and that was word cloud. I think we should just say specify the seeding for random word orientation. And then when we get to the word orientation, we should say with word orientation arrow random, the option random seeding specifies how random choices should be seeded.
Well, it's not just word orientation goes to random, presumably, since at least the last three syntaxes there indicate randomness.
Oh, I see.
But I'm wondering, Shadi, is horizontal vertical deterministic, or is that also?
No, that's deterministic, I'm being told.
Again, it doesn't have to be. We can make that non-deterministic, whether we place, because that's also a choice between two orientations.
Wait. What are you talking about here?
The third one, horizontal vertical, the string horizontal vertical.
Well, so what are you saying here? So you're saying Okay, that's at least something there. So what are you telling me? That the random seeding thing will also work for horizontal vertical?
I'm just drawing it now. Because simply that means a random choice between, actually that is non-deterministic as well. That's a random choice between 0 and 90 degrees.
Okay. Okay, so okay. Represents rotating, represents words rotated counterclockwise by θ1 radians. Okay. For all settings other than horizontal and vertical, there is randomness. The option random seeding, option through word cloud can be used to determine does that make sense to people?
Yeah. Right. Although I mean, it's if I'm going to go legalistic on you, it's not completely correct for the last form. But if you only have one angle in your inner list.
See, I was going to go the other way and say that you just ignore horizontal, vertical, and you're randomly choosing out of one set, one element sets.
Yes.
And so,
right. Yes. Yeah, and actually, is there a reason why just theta is right? You can just give it a naked number, which is interpreted as an angle, which is not in that table. Which thing?
Oh, to make all words be in that be at that orientation. Does that work?
Yep, I just tried it.
Okay. Well then, so we should add here something that says we should add a line here. Is that correct, Shadi?
That says theta. Yep.
Yeah. For all settings allowing a choice of angle.
I think that's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Allowing random choices of angle. Okay. Okay, all right, that's that. Okay, image effect. Do we have to worry about what image effect says? Yeah, I tend to think we should not worry about this. I tend to think it would be totally weird to get repeatable randomness for image effect.
Okay, good.
Do you agree, Shadi?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, can we take? Sorry, I you made it disappear before I could finish reading it. Could we take another look at the
image effect?
Image effect, yeah, just.
What do you want to see? This part?
Right, so we have color styling, color vision. So does this only affect the noise effects, or we don't even see, there isn't something called, pseudo-random. So does this only affect the pseudo-random?
I think so. I'll have to check the thorn frame to see if that is also randomly seeded. But that's the only other one that could be randomly seeded. All the
Which
other
one?
ones. Thorn frame, under framing effects, the second one.
Torn.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, tearing. Okay. I didn't even know we had that.
Right, and so the notes, what does the note say?
Why doesn't this say torn frequency? I mean, torn, I'm sorry, why doesn't that allow, does it allow, if I just say image effect of this? I mean, it has a bunch of defaults, presumably.
It does, yes. I don't know.
Different, hold on, let me just make something here. What should I make? I should make a contour plot of x squared minus y squared. And
you're getting rid of all the ticks and some of the right and top.
The next time I tear it, it'll tear differently. But by the way, this documentation doesn't make it clear that you can just do torn frame on its own, right?
Right. It's so many of these. All of the effects on the top as well can be given on their own, and they have defaults for their arguments. I don't want to repeat. This is already a long list of effects. I don't want to repeat all of them.
No, well, fine. But I mean, you should make a comment here that any effect here can be given just as, it can be elided, right? You should make some comment that says that.
Okay.
And also, is it clear? Yeah, I mean, hopefully this will make it clear that you can do that elision, but we don't want to rely on those examples. We should have it in the main description.
I'll add a note, sure. Makes sense.
Do we want to be slightly more specific than just some methods, right? Because the way the last note, I think it's the last note.
For random seeding?
Yeah.
I think this is in the deep in the noise. So
okay.
All right, let's
You're in a punny mood today.
Yeah, that's a punny mood, right? Okay, let's move on. Extensions to thread and map thread.
Do you need me for the rest of the meeting?
No, you're free to go, Shadi.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Okay.
Right, so we started talking about this, and then we decided we'll need a meeting where we're not already well over time to discuss it. So here we are having it as the second item.
Okay. Map thread should work on association is the statement. And why would this not be a good idea? I mean, map thread doesn't mean anything when it's fed an association as the top level object.
Well, currently map thread doesn't mean anything when it's handed anything other than a list.
Yeah, but I think that this case, I mean, these nice inert objects, I mean, handing map thread a plus is almost certainly an error.
I suppose, but there are certainly plenty of cases where you want to hand it, an F.
Really? Really? What's such a case?
Well, because, you have your own container.
I know, but I think that those containers are minority compared to lists and associations.
But that doesn't make it less useful. So, for example, Richard has an ancient bug or suggestion or something from working on the alpha parser, where he really wanted map threads to work on an arbitrary object and not just lists, at least if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, I personally think that's a minority case. I mean, we maybe can make it work, but I think the case of much more interest is the association case. What's the reason that we shouldn't have map thread work on associations?
Well,
Let me look at all these examples here. This example looks fine. Those are two conforming associations here. Now, what happens? Oh, yeah, it's the next example.
Right, but that's still a list, right? It's a list of associations, so it's doing the same thing. I presume it's doing. Is that okay? I'm confused now. I'm not sure if it's doing default behavior for association but certainly the outermost head is list. I think, but one of the things is we couldn't necessarily agree on what the shape of the result should be. But
by the way, let me just some comments from our live stream from Sander here. I was wondering if it is an idea to reveal the versions of options like you just showed, such that one can take into account if their code is compatible with older versions. Is this possible? I don't quite understand that. What did we just show? I don't. What were we? This business. This thing here. This. What is this? This is a. This is part of the Wolfram Language data functionality. I mean, that's the question he's asking is if the it's really hard. It's really hard to say if something changes version to version. Was it just an optimization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
I think he might have been referring to the source page where we actually mark what versions things were last modified.
Oh. Yeah, don't we? I mean, we have some of that information.
Right. We have things that changed in this version, but we don't have,
That is an interesting point. I mean, that is actually an interesting point. We should bring that up in the next docs meeting because we do have all that stuff tagged. We just have never bothered to reveal it. I mean, we have the thing at the bottom of the page that says, introduced in, updated in. But we actually do have the full tagging information throughout the document. That is a really stupid set of related links, isn't it? I think so. Gives related links a bad name. Okay.
Well, I mean, these are all things you might use in customizing your word cloud, I think, or many of them are, but.
Oh, I see. Well, okay, that does have word clouds in it. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, okay, so can we make sure that's in the next docs meeting?
Yep.
Please, thanks. Okay. There's a question about OpenCB GPU accelerated effects for image effects. I'm afraid we let Shadi escape, so we can't answer that question here. Although, if you can send that question along.
Yeah.
Okay, and another question is, any discussion of updates to the Packlet Manager, Packlet system? Yes, we are working on it. In fact, I just requested a meeting today. In fact, that will probably be, we'll probably live stream that meeting. It'll probably be in the next few days. Next question was about any plans for a word cloud 3D. I don't know what a word cloud 3D would do. I think a word cloud 3D would just be totally confusing. Is there really a value in a word cloud 3D? I mean, you don't usually see words in. I mean, yeah, I don't really believe in that. Maybe somebody can make a sample of that and put it in the function repository. Let's see. Yeah, this is a question about the Packlet repository and update installing from GitHub and so on. Yeah, we're thinking about it, working on it. It's absolutely in the plan for the next few months. Okay, map thread on ragged arrays would be nice. It works for map after all. Comments, ride. I'm just going to use pseudo first names. Ride is saying that. Well, what would it mean? Okay, so let's go back to what we were looking at before here. So this is a conforming map thread, and we know what it does. But now, what does the non-conforming map thread do? Are you telling me it fails here?
Yes.
Okay, and
which this I think is correct. So this, if you give it a lists of unequal length, it will.
I mean, some of the merging functionality has ways of dealing with, and things like join across absolutely have ways of dealing with missing stuff. So, for example, we could imagine for map thread, as for merge, does merge have an option for dealing with what to do with the missing case? Somebody is insisting that I look at what a 3D word cloud is. Okay, well, that's a 3D word cloud in motion. Is that really useful? I mean, it looks cool. Oh, I see. That's probably something I can stop. Actually, I think we can do this now that I think about it. I think we can do, I think if you do, let me do this. If I say, let's see what happens. If I say random word 40, and then I say feature space plot 3D of that, I'm pretty sure I will get a 3D collection of words there. Yeah, I do get a 3D collection of words. Now, having it be something where those are densely packed words, I haven't a clue. All right, well, you can certainly give that suggestion to Shoddy. There seem to, with these examples of where other people have done 3D word clouds, I have to say I'm less than convinced. I mean, this is clearly an example of a somewhat meaningfully arranged set of words. Why possum? Do possums spit? I have no idea if possums spit, but why pass and possum are near to each other? I have no idea. I mean, this is using well, some things that are actually not totally ridiculous that they're near each other. Okay, let's come back to map thread. Let's see, we've got an example of map thread here that Ride has sent through. Let's look at what this does. Yeah, okay, so that is nominally conforming. What does this do without the -1 at the end? Okay, then it works. What is the -1 doing? And my question is,
the -1 is a level spec, right?
Yeah, right.
He's trying to apply it to the inner level of lists, not.
Yeah, but I don't think map thread supports negative.
Right.
Levels.
Yeah, so try, was it 2?
Well, try brace 2, right?
No. Map thread only takes integer level specs.
Okay, but that's too deep. I mean, this is only a one level thing anyway.
No, it's not.
It's range of 5.
Okay, so what are you telling me I should do here? So that one works.
Right, because it's at level 1, and
okay, so now why doesn't it work at level 2?
Because we have a triangular matrix.
Right, evaluate range of 5 on its own.
I can see what it does. I mean, it's
Okay,
triangular,
right,
right? But so what you're telling me, if I say here, if I said table range of 5, 5 or whatever, then you're telling me this would work.
Yep.
No, you're right. Okay. So, I mean, I agree. It's pretty gratuitous that it doesn't work in that ragged case. It's not exactly ragged. Everything conforms. Just doesn't globally. It's not globally square.
I mean, it is ragged when it comes to right at level 2. It is ragged, right? It's not conforming, right?
Globally, level 2 is ragged, but
it's consistent raggedness.
Yes, it's consistent at level 2.
Right.
Okay, so my question is: we have functions that. And merge doesn't seem to be one of them, that decide what to do when you combine associations and one of the keys in one of the associations is missing. How do we do that? Certainly join across has that capability. What else has that capability? See what I'm saying? I mean, because in this case here, I could imagine something which says, here's what to fill in for the missing key.
Right. I mean, lookup has that ability also.
Right. But then what are
say what your default is.
Right. But so then what are the dimensions of the result? The dimensions of the union of the keys?
I would think so.
I don't know that that's useful. I mean, right.
Well, so you think, okay, so first, look, there are two questions here. One is map thread applying to associations. I claim that's a no-brainer and we should just do it. Second level is map thread applying to heads other than lists and associations. I'm skeptical about that one and do not think we should do it right now. And the third thing is raggedness. Which I think raggedness is a whole nother level of issue. And it is, without some mechanism for what to do by default, raggedness seems hard to make sense of. Do you agree? In other words, I said without which part? The whole thing or just the part about raggedness?
The part about raggedness.
My claim is that the general case of raggedness is hard to make sense of. Let me give you an example. Okay, so let's say I add to this something which has something like this. Okay, where I'm alighting from the beginning. And so now, let me make it more complicated by reordering the individual elements in these associations. What do we come out with as a result? It's one thing when they are conforming and samely ordered, so to speak.
Right.
Right, and right now that doesn't work. If you reorder, like that's one right above where you're typing, where there's no missing keys or anything.
Okay, so you're saying if I reverse that, this is not going to work. Bluff.
Right, just like it doesn't in transpose.
Right. I mean, honestly, I think the case that we should make work immediately is this case where there is an outer association. This seems to me to be a no-brainer. Everything else seems to me, has issues.
What argument does F get called with in that first case? Or what would you expect?
This one here?
Mm-hmm. Does it get 1, 3, or does it get an association K1 goes to 1, K2 goes to 3?
It gets the association, right?
Yeah, it has to be the association.
Because it's the analog, it's the direct analog of it's exactly what it's like a transpose of the thing. Does transpose work on this? What does transpose do on this?
It does if you give it allowed heads. It should.
Okay, by default it does not.
Right.
It's not the most brilliant error message. Okay. You know, that error message should be updated.
Well, we should finish the implementation of allowed heads. It's probably more.
Okay, but in any case, in this case, you know, comma with the specified allowed heads or some such other thing to make it clear there's a way out other than changing that structure. All right, so listen.
Yes, but like I said, we should finish the implementation of allowed heads before advertising an error message.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so I think we've come to a conclusion that the only thing we're going to do right now is the association case, and we're not going to worry about raggedness yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Inconsistency between take and string take. Oh, this is a can of worms. This is what up to means. What is this? This is the fact, okay, so string take, just like, so the issue here is if I were to do characters of this, and then I was to say take of that, I would get that, which seems perfectly consistent. Okay, now what? Now you're saying that if I say string take, what's the inconsistency here?
Well, the fact that there are multiple inconsistencies. One is the fact that string take of up to of 20 then gives you that other thing.
I'm sorry, I just want to come back to map thread again. We didn't consider the case of deeper map threads at level 2, for example. And as Sandra on the live stream is pointing out, there's really no good reason that it shouldn't work. I mean, the requirement for global rectangularity seems quite out of place. That is...
Well, it's only required to be rectangular up to the depth you've specified.
Yes.
Right, but the question is, why is that required? And that's actually the bug that Richard filed. I was wrong to say that he had filed a bug or a suggestion about non-list heads.
Yeah, I mean, I just think this is wrong. I think this is a bug. This case here should just work. I mean, that is conforming. Every requested F is conforming.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's simply a bug.
And I can give you the bug number.
What is it?
72084.
Isn't that embarrassingly low? That's an old, finely aged bug. Okay. When is it from? A decade ago?
Yep.
Lovely. Okay. Well, I still think it's a bug, and I think we should look at fixing it. Okay, anyway, let's go on to string take. Okay, so what's the inconsistency? What's the problem here?
The question is, well, if you looked at the examples, you could see.
Okay, so string take list up to 20.
Right, I think the claim is that you expect to get a single character there, and you instead got the full prefix of the string.
Right. And if you look at what take doesn't allow that specification.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So what take would do in this case, so I mean, just to be clear, without the brace here, up to 20 is happy.
Right, because that's the same thing as list 1, up to 20.
Okay, fine. So this case here is similarly happy. Okay, so the cases are braced up to 20. Is that the only case, or is there more than that case?
That is the case.
Okay, is it documented or not?
It's not documented.
Okay, so maybe it's just a bug.
Well,
I can't imagine why this should do this with this particular thing. It seems just wrong to me The braced form.
Well, try it with take. Look at what take does with it.
It just gives an error, doesn't it?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see why string take doesn't do the same thing.
Okay. Right.
Okay, let me just think about this for 1 second, though. What else could it do? So first point is, whatever it does, it should return one character. The only question is whether there is a meaning to saying up to 50. I mean, the only meaning I can see is you either return character number 50 or you return the last character. That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I think this should just be an error.
Okay. Which was basically my position, but since there was some discussion.
Okay, fine. All right. Let's move on. Example data.
Right. So this is open discussion. You said we should have a discussion about example data. So here's your opportunity to discuss.
Well, who's here? Who's relevant to that? I mean, I think it's what's relevant is the various repositories.
Okay. So I guess the question. So then my question to you is, what kind of discussion were you looking to have?
I don't remember, but I think the issue is, should example data be turned into something that is in a repository? What is the future? How is example data documented? Right now, it's pretty kludgy. I mean, to me, I kind of think example data, I mean, it's possible that what we should do is just have an example repository. This is pretty random and kludgy at this point, in my view. It's very useful, but
right, and it auto completes, which is an advantage it has over, some example repo or example.
Repositories don't autocomplete at the present time. It is in the plan to make them autocomplete. And by the way, Sushma, that's something maybe you could check into.
Okay.
I mean, certainly example data is useful. The question is whether, I mean, by the way, we could still have something called example data, just like we have things called, net model. They just are backed by a repository. See what I'm saying? I mean, what I'm thinking here is that that's the right thing to do. To back this with whether it wants to be a separate repository or whether it's part of the data repository, I don't really know. There's an argument that it's really its own repository because these things are really toy examples, but nevertheless useful. I think this maybe is the wrong group, but that would be what I would initially favor, is an example repository. And Carl on the live stream is commenting that example data is useful as it is. I agree, no question. It's a question of for example, if you want to browse the examples, yeah, you can do it to some extent now, but it would be nice if we want to extend this. It would be nice to have browsing that can be done through just an online gallery. Okay, so please let's put that in the next repository meeting to discuss that. Okay, typesetting for failure. What is this about?
So failure behaves differently whether you use a string, a string form type template, or a string template type template. So.
Well, what does it do different? What are you saying here? So this.
So those both have the same message with more or less the same parameters, and
Yes.
and they look quite different, don't they?
They do look different. Why do they look different? What's?
Well, for
Why? I see. One of them has positional arguments and one of them has named arguments. That's horrifying.
right.
That seems like a bug to me.
Okay. Right. But I guess the question is, which way do we want to resolve this?
Well, fair enough. Let's look at that. Okay. But actually, comments on the live stream about auto-completion. Yeah, Carl is asking what the analog of test image, Lena is. Oh boy, Lena, I think, has been retired. But
I think she's still there. Just
no. Lena is still Lena is still used here, but I would say in the world at large, Lena has been retired.
I see.
I mean, she's still in example data, but we don't use her.
Right.
Okay, fine. Who's become the new Lena? It's a good one of those celebrity placement things. I'm surprised none of these celebrity agents has jumped on that bandwagon. Become the next image test case.
I mean, it ought to be worth a good $5,000 or something, right?
For one, no. It's just exposure, right? If you're, it has to be somebody who's known just by one name.
No. I'm saying we could sell out and
Oh, I see.
Charge people to be included in example data.
Yeah, right. I wonder what the resource data equivalent would look like for Lena. I think we have a bunch of those things in the data repository. We have a test images, example images in the data repository, and let's see. Yeah, I mean, this type of thing, that would be what the analog would be. Fluffy. Which I don't consider to be terrible. I mean, yeah, it's mildly longer than Lena, but not, than that. Yeah, I'm kind of a believer in this. But whether we want to have a separate family of things that are just examples, I'm not sure. I don't know whether. Yeah, let's take a look. Is Lena available here? Oops, that's definitely not available. No, not there. Well, okay. Wrong group of people for this discussion, I think. Okay, auto-completions on entities. Yeah, we know. Although that is something, Sushma, you might try to bring up in, I mean, that one is all mixed up with local versions of lexers and parsers and things, which is being worked on. Okay. Okay, let's see. Failure shouldn't necessarily feed back the input data. What if the image was enormously huge? Well, it's being shortened. Well, okay, so that's a fair point, but I mean, okay, so the issue is there's some bug that causes these to not.
Okay, so basically, this so what the named parameters one is essentially behaving like template apply. The one that looks more like the positional one is behaving the way message would behave. Right. So
I see. So in other words, this I mean, points on the live stream that I think are not unreasonable is you got to be careful what you actually disgorge in an error message, because if the thing you disgorge is 100 megabytes in size, it's going to cause trouble.
Right.
So the issue is really, what is the rendering? What is this rendering? Is this some kind of string? I mean, what do we know what the rendering type is for this one?
I think it's just using text string to. So I think
but this one, for some reason, is not using text string.
No, it's using. Well, it's using thumbnail on the image in a combination with short and shallow.
It seems kludgy.
It
seems like it should be.
It's the general thing that gets applied to everything.
To every message.
Right.
So if you did message with, if you created a message with that template, or if you did,
So what should I do? I should do message and then an arg count message or something. General. Sure. Why doesn't that autocomplete, by the way? That's another autocomplete. Missing autocomplete.
Okay.
Well, the messages get loaded sort of on demand, right? So.
Yeah, but we can still have a table of them. Why didn't this work?
Because it should have been a sequence, not a list of arguments.
Boy.
Right. So if you replace.
Okay, so I want to just put the fluffy guy in there instead. Yeah. It's kind of nice to see the fluffy thing. So you're saying that was using thumbnail, so it wouldn't have blown up memory.
Right.
I mean, because it's such an attractive and fluffy dog, I like seeing it there, but I don't know the general case. And what's this export underneath doing?
That's well, that's the tag, right? The first argument of the failure.
Oh, that's tag. I see. That's just the formatting of the thing, which is not magnificent either. I mean, arguably that's too big a thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I put this random image of 600, let's see if that thumbnails it down. What?
I think that wants to be the second argument.
1,600.
Ah.
Interesting. Why didn't it thumbnail there?
Well, yeah, that's weird. I mean, do we actually believe that there's thumbnailing going on? Well, let's find out. If I do this, and I pick that up, and I ask, how big is that? That's really mysterious. All right, let's try 300 or something here. That is very mysterious as well. Well, okay, it's thumbnailing to 75.
Which is probably the default if you just do thumbnail of random image.
Well,
all right, but what happened here? That looks like a bug.
And
Carl on the live stream is pointing out well, a couple of people here are pointing out crashing to do with mistakes in image, and related crash or slowdown happens when you have a data set full of failure messages. So, I mean, the real question is are failure messages properly protected in such a way that they can't get big? And it sounds to me like there's some testing that needs to be done there. Fair? And this is certainly a mystery, what happened here. I'm suspicious about this one.
I wonder if shallow is going in and mucking with the image.
All right, well, so look, this has to be tracked down. I mean, this is basically a bug fix. But I think the bottom line here is, I think it's nice to show the images and things if we can. But I think the important thing, I think it should be a little bit smaller than this. We can probably choose that. But I think, I mean, I would make it like 40 by 40 or something. But most important is to do the testing to make sure that nothing can escape and become big. Fair? Right, so whatever failure is doing, make sure, and whatever templating it's doing, make sure it can never become big. Fair?
Thinking about it,
well, let's find out if there's a problem with that.
So just out of curiosity, Stephen, what happens if you click the button to have it save the data in the notebook on that first failure?
So that again, what?
So when you did the 600, right? So does that change the typesetting if you click that, or
shouldn't?
Okay.
No, it just did something absolutely stupid here. I mean, it stored it, but it stored it in a way that I can't even get access to.
Well, sure you can. You can copy it out and do like rest or something on it, or list at. Right. The failure is
probably has properties or
non-interpretable.
something that.
Say that again.
I said, does failure allow property extraction?
Yeah. So you could use message parameters on it now. I think.
You need the.
You need the box.
So.
What do you mean the box? What do you
Instead of %, you want Shift Command L.
Oh boy. Okay, so let's look at image dimensions of that. I'm deeply suspicious. This looks
right. That's the right, because you stored the whole input in the summary box. So
okay, so there's something very wrong going on here. I mean, message parameters.
No, this is exactly right. I mean, other than perhaps the image, right? You are confusing typesetting and full form. Right? What that button did was store the full form in the summary box so it could be extracted. And that random image is, in fact, in failure. I mean, failure doesn't have any significant evaluation. It's not going to go and change what its parameters are.
Yeah. Okay, listen, look, we have to go to another meeting here, but can we please do the investigation of what is escaping and becoming large in the actual failure object as it is being formatted? Okay? Something is clearly wrong there. Let's go find those bugs and then discuss whether we have design issues.
What is I mean, where is this coming from, this escaping and becoming large?
Well, people are claiming that's happening, but also we can see why would this do that image, angle bracket 0? Why wasn't it just producing a thumbnail?
And I'm 99% sure that the answer to that is that the shallow is mucking with the image.
Okay, fine. Then that's a bug. Because shallow was built in 1988, long before we had images. And it's probably not dealing with images correctly.
Yeah.
Okay? I bet that's what's happening. I bet you're right. I bet it's going into the structure of the image and doing something crazy with it. That makes perfect sense, actually.
Right.
But that's what's happening. And that should be fixed. I mean, shallow should be taught about images, probably. Or we should use something other than shallow in simplifying the messages. But I think probably shallow should be taught about images. And, images aren't no entry. So, there will be a problem there. All right, listen, we have to wrap up here. For people on the live stream, we're actually going to go to another live stream meeting about historical entities. And I will be there soon. Okay, talk to you all soon.